It was a day when the big stars shone out. Trae Young, Tyrese Haliburton, Cade Cunningham, Precious Achiuwa, Drew Timme, Jamal Cain. Thursday, recap, fantasy basketball, Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and if I want to have a swim in my own bin on the hottest day that we've ever had, then I'm entitled to do so. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com and sign up for our newsletters. They're free. So much information about your favorite team that's delivered every day into your inbox. Plus, if you sign up now for free, before the end of April, there are 3 prizes on offer. A $2,500 gift card to Best Buy. We've got a gift card for Game Time for the tickets, the old tickets, and also for Fanatics to get some merch. So get over there, sign up, LockedOnDaily.com. There were 5 games on Thursday. We are going to get into them. But first of all, it is National Submarine Day. So if you like your semen tightly packed into a can under the water, maybe today is the day that you're ready to celebrate. Also, what I do want to celebrate is the end of the season, the end of the NBA regular season from a fantasy perspective. There are 2 more days left, a 15-game Friday and a 15-game Sunday. This is the final recap show that I am doing for the regular season. I will still have one more preview show for Sunday's games, and then we get into a bunch of off-season recaps and team recaps and bust and sleeper recaps and draft stuff, a whole bunch of stuff. But this is the end of the regular season, the basic end of the regular season content. So I want to thank everybody who has been a part of the show, whether they've been a guest on the show, or more importantly, the guys like you who are listening and watching and double banging and triple banging and seeing all the content and interacting and doing so with humor and politeness. The ones who are dickheads, well, we don't worry about those guys, but we get things wrong. I like to think we get things more right than wrong over here. And what the main thing I always want to do when we're doing this show is talking about projecting forward. How do we do it? Why are we doing it? Not blindly discussing something. What are the reasons? Not just going with the flow, not just going with a consensus, giving the reasons why things happen, which in the end, I think overall pan out for us in the positive fashion. And it wouldn't be able to pan out positively if we didn't all sort of stick with it and learn as we go. I'm always learning. You guys, I hope, are learning things as well. And more importantly, learning, winning, but have fun, man. We're here to have fun. We're here to have some jokes. We're here to have some laughs. And we're going to keep those laughs going. So thank you to everyone. If you are still watching this, and I know hardly anyone is compared to what we normally do, I hope some of those people do come back through the off-season. Drop comments down below. Hope you had a great and successful season. And again, more importantly, a fun season and a season where you learn stuff and a season where you look to get better and improve all of our processes. That's what we want to do. But thank you for the support through this season and through every other season, as I am almost ready to get to my 5,000th episode of this show, which again is a huge and unbelievable thing that I never thought that I'd get to. Should we talk games now? We probably should. The first game, the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Indiana Pacers is that first game we're up to. By the way, we are going to get, maybe I'll talk about this a little bit later, but it's just some absolutely wild and wacky and wonderful lineups are going to be coming. For the Cavs in this one, Donovan Mitchell was out, Mobley was out, Garland was out, and Strus was out. So we just got a lot of spuds starting. We had Ty Jerome and DeAndre Hunter and Sam Merrill and Dean Wade, and then Jarrett Allen played only 16 minutes and didn't play at all in the second half. So Isaac Okoro took his place. Does any of this matter? I don't think so. They've got 2 more games left, as does every single team. Every team's got 2 games left now. But I don't think that these guys are going to rest every game. What about tomorrow? Does Jerome? I don't even think DeAndre Hunter or Jerome, who've had a few injury problems themselves, I don't think they play tomorrow. I think those other guys return. I think Allen's going to be limited to 20 minutes or so each of these games. I think even like Mobley and Garland and Strus and these sort of players will be pretty limited in their playing time. So you're just going to be like, hey, do we try a Hunter when he plays? Do we try Jerome? Do we get Sam Merrill in there? Do we get a bit of Dean Wade? Like, honestly, there will be a game out of these next 2 where, and this was one of them, if you streamed in Tristan Thompson, you got 12 rebounds, which is, again, that's useful. But I would never want to say, hey, let's look to Tristan Thompson. Imagine you're playing fantasy and then your ads for the final couple of days are Harrison Barnes and Tristan Thompson. And don't worry, there's someone even funnier that we're going to talk about later on that also played some minutes. But that's sort of what happens at this time of the year. It's all well and good to talk about what happens on March the 20th and, oh, my best player was injured and he had to miss games and these random guys in. That's nothing compared to playing now. This is absolute nonsense this time of the year, and never should you be playing any sort of head-to-head based fantasy this week, last week, or honestly the week before. So I don't really know how much to get out of this. The guys will always want to watch is Craig Porter because he is a very good fantasy player. He had 16, 3, and 3. We keep an eye to see if Jalen Tyson can get a big role in one of these games. And then it's about Hunter, Jerome, Merrill, whether they play every game, because I don't think they will play on Friday, or some of them won't. And then we see what happens on Sunday. I know that's a roundabout way to say, hey, anything goes. But honestly, at this time of year, anything does go. On the Pacers side, who now with this victory have locked themselves into home court advantage in the Eastern Conference, whether that's the 3 or the 4 seed, it's almost definitely the 4, although the Knicks losing today means that they can get to 3, whether they want to or not. Do they prefer Boston, although they're pretty good against Boston, Indiana, or they play Cleveland if they stay in 4? In this game, we had 36 minutes of Tyrese Haliburton, 23, 8, and 10 with 3 blocks. It's a ridiculous game. After such a slow start, he's been unbelievably good in the second half of the season. Miles Turner, 13 and 7 with 4 blocks. Really strong as well. I really can't say the same thing about Pascal Siakam because, bro, what is going on with this guy? 10 points, 33 minutes, 8 rebounds, 40% shooting, 1 of 3 from the line. He has had so many absolute shit sandwiches over the last 2, 3, 4 weeks that I don't really get it. Now, again, like with every team, but I will say it for every team, they play tomorrow. They are locked in as a top 4 seed. Do they sit guys tomorrow? Does Haliburton take a day off? Do we get a big game from Jarris Walker? Hello? Maybe. Miles Turner's had some injuries. Pascal Siakam's had some injuries. Haliburton's had some back problems. They could easily, all of them sit. Benedict Mathurin had an issue with his calf about a week ago. Is he in? I don't know. And all of that is going to adjust how you approach this. The guys we want to watch, like Nesmith was great. Again, he's had, after just being missing in action to begin the season, Nesmith's been very strong, mainly when somebody's out, but like today, he was awesome. But I can see us having a Toppin game tomorrow, a Walker game, even a McConnell game. It really just does depend on who is in or who is out. If you want to talk about bad, Andy Nembhard, man, what is going on here? 2 points, 7 assists and 2 steals. He was someone that I looked at as like a round 12 sort of a player with limited upside, but I thought you could, if you'd gone high upside in other rounds, you could get him or an Ayo Dosunmu, who I do class those players as very similar in that range where there's not much upside, but the role is sort of secure enough. But man, Nembhard's been like way worse than I anticipated. He just can't get anything going. It's been really weird. Anyway, back to this team. Back to the options we might have for other games. Just keep an eye on Walker, keep an eye on Toppin, keep an eye on McConnell, and then there might be a random game there where someone like Quentin Jackson, remember him? The third different spelling of Quentin in the NBA. He had a couple of games earlier in the season, and he is limited with his G League games, but he might be available to come back into this one, and just keep an eye on him or Enrique Freeman, guys that can put up numbers, and Freeman had a couple of moments earlier in the year as well, that you just don't think of, especially if they decide to go full hardcore resting of players now that they have locked themselves in to that top 4 spot. We've got 4 more games to talk about. It doesn't get any less funny with some of the names we're going to go to, because that's what we're at. Today's episode, though, it is brought to you by DoorDash. So get ready, because in the NBA, if they swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal that day. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 24-25 NBA regular season, 2 more days left, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. Game day feast you want to look at? Burgers, wings, pizzas. What else could you get for a feast? A platter of sushi, some sush. I don't know. Maybe that's what you want to look to. You got mates coming over. Everyone gets to hold on to their own burrito. Smash that down with the $10 off with the 50% from DoorDash and Dash Pass. So sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order the next day up to $10 off. Use the promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game from Ray J. Dennis or any other player on eligible orders of participating merchants. You must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Okay. I know that all of the trade mags and all of the online chatter has been about me singing, so you never know. Maybe we'll get a bit of an extra song chucked into this show. If only the Lakers were playing, that I could do a little bit more of my LeBron catalog. We'll see. Mr. LeBron. No, that's enough. Man, no one's watching, so I can actually do whatever I want at this time. Let's go on to the second game of the day. It is the New York Knicks. They went into Detroit. They lost 106-115 because you would not believe this. Even as I'm telling you this, like you're not going to believe this. The Knicks prioritized player health and rested guys versus chasing a regular season win, which could have locked up the 3 seed. I think, I don't know if Tom Thibodeau had a stroke. I'm not really sure what happened there, but yeah, like that's just not a thing that happens, but it did happen, so I guess it is a thing that happens now. Let me tell you what happened. OG Anunoby was out. Josh the Hitman Hart was out. Mitchell Robinson was out as well. And that meant that we got a starting lineup that included the Big Sneeze, DNP legend, Precious Achiuwa. We had Juice McBride starting next to Jalen Brunson, and then we had both Brunson and Towns playing limited minutes. I believe in my heart of hearts, which is one of the dumbest. What the hell does that phrase mean? Heart of hearts. I've got one heart. I just believe that Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns will not play on Friday. It would make no sense for the two guys who have actually been injured, Towns and Brunson, to not get a game off when other guys have got a game off. Now, I know Mikal Bridges will not get a game off, but he will play one of those 12-minute games. Play the entire first quarter and then go jerk it out the back. That's what he'll either do on Friday or Sunday, I'm very certain, for Bridges. Let's talk about the big pop-off, and that is from the Big Sneeze. Achiuwa, 40 minutes, 18-10, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 62%. Cool. That's because there was no Anunoby and no Robinson. Now, I think tomorrow's game, you actually still might get decent minutes for Achiuwa, because I think Towns will be out, so Robinson will start, but it won't be the same load that Precious took on in this one. Towns had 25, 10, and 5, and Brunson was a little bit off, 15 points with, honestly, horrid free throws. What's going on? 2 of 5 from the line? Big fella, settle down. What we did get, and this is amazing, the man had played 2 minutes all season. PJ Tucker played 27 minutes. Now, did he do anything very good? No. He had 3 points and 6 rebounds. Imagine after not playing all year, he gets in and plays 50 minutes combined on a back-to-back. I guess it's possible. McBride had 12, 2, and 6 with 4 steals. He just has so many horrid shooting nights, but there might be another opportunity for him tomorrow. But maybe he is also a chance to rest. He's been coming off injury as well. So do we get DeLon Wright, Campaign, Tyler Kolek? Do we finally get our Kevin McCullough game that we've all been waiting for? What about a time for Call Me Pack Home Daddy? Is he going to be an option for us? I doubt it, but we have to. Everything's open here. Bridges had 17 points with 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. Shot well, and that was actually one of his better games. But I do think that, again, this seeding is going to be pretty settled. They can only be 3 or 4, and I think they're pretty secure in number 3. And I think you get those guys sitting tomorrow, then Sunday, honestly, anything goes. Just keep an eye on Mitchell Robinson for tomorrow. Keep an eye on Juice McBride, and then keep an eye on DeLon Wright or Campaign if others happen to sit. Detroit needed this win, or they wanted this win, obviously, to get themselves secure or a little more secure into their position. It's them and Milwaukee really couldn't go any other direction, but they both won today, and the Bucks are now on 46 wins and the Pistons are on 44. So it's going to be basically impossible for Detroit to catch Milwaukee and move into the 5. So they're going to stay in the 6 almost definitely, which is going to make it, that we are going to see rest from the Pistons. Now, Tobias Harris, the thick hogsman, has been out. He came back in this game, and there's 2 things to really discuss here. Harris came back, played 28 minutes, had 17, 2 or 2. Fantastic. Almost certain he doesn't play tomorrow. But the other thing about that is that we have got one of the more rock-solid, crystal-clear correlations that we've seen. Tobias Harris plays, Asad Thompson's bad. Tobias Harris is out, Asad Thompson plays well. Thompson played 21 minutes here. He had 3 points with 2 blocks. The games that Harris is out, he plays 30. It is very straightforward. So, while it might be like you look at this and go, do I drop Asad Thompson? I think Tobias sits tomorrow. It would make no sense for the Pistons to play Harris on a back-to-back. Similarly, I don't think that Cade Cunningham plays. He had 36 points, he had 8 assists, he played 35 minutes. He shot unbelievably, 67% from the field. He had a steal and a block. It was a great game. He led them to this victory, Cade Cunningham. But they can't really push for that seeding. I don't think they've got any chance of getting that against the Bucks. And, with Cade and his health being paramount, I don't know that he plays. The only thing I'll say about that is that if the Pistons win out and the Bucks lose out, the Pistons hold the tiebreaker, so they will move to 5. Is that as important as playing Harris and Cade on a back-to-back? Probably not. But that is a thing. So Detroit can win out, and Milwaukee has to lose out, and then Detroit does get the 5. But yeah, I really don't think that that's going to be something that they push for, but you never know. Timmy Hardaway's role reduced, Dennis Schroeder's role reduced with Cade and Toby there, but they could both bump tomorrow. 8 points in 27 minutes for Schroeder, while Hardaway had 10 in 27. The guy to watch for me here, who I think is going to have a random pop-off game, is rugged Ronnie Holland. He played 22 minutes in this game. He had 13 points with 5 rebounds. He blocked a shot. He's a very interesting fantasy player who's really had no opportunity this season at all. And I do think that one of these 2 games will get a lot out of Ron Holland. I wouldn't suggest adding him, but just watch it. The other one is Isaiah Stewart played only 22 minutes. He went scoreless. He played well, but he did foul out. Just keep an eye on him if they do sit Duren in any of these games. And the passport legend, Jalen Duren, was great. He had 9 of 9 from the field. He was 18 and 13 with a steal and a block, who, after a horrendous beginning to the season, he has really resurrected his season, Jalen Duren, and put together some good numbers. We should go on to the third game of the day. This one was a pretty large destruction. The Atlanta Hawks 133, the Brooklyn Nets 109. The Hawks continue to do the thing that they're doing, and they're basically locked in now at the 8 seed. Now, it is possible. There's a 4% chance that they can fall down to the 10 seed. That would require them losing out and the Bulls and the Heat winning out. It seems really unlikely, but they can't go higher than this, the Hawks. But they do have to, if they win the next game, then they are set, I believe, in that spot. Let me double check that. Let's see. Because the Hawks have the tiebreaker over the Bulls. And so they need to win one game to lock themselves in to the 8. They're going to win one of their last 2 to lock themselves in there. Okay. Zach Ricochet, this is great. This is the most points in a game a rookie has scored all season. 35 minutes, 38 points, 6 threes, 2 steals, 1 block. An amazing game. 20 shots, 75%. What a game. He played 16 minutes the game before. So there is absolutely no reliability in Ricochet. And nearly every time we've seen a back-to-back from them this season, in the second game, Ricochet's done nothing. So while that's great, that's a great game outside of the 40% from the line. I literally just look back one game to see how bad it can be. I wouldn't bother with him as a general rule. Okongwu, 14 and 15. Trae Young, 24 and 12. Dyson Daniels, another 3 steals to go with 10, 9 and 9. Continues to be awesome. And I know that one of the things that I preach a lot, maybe I do preach, but I talk about steals and the variability of steals year on year, and the fact that often the steals leader is still good at steals, but they drop huge amounts. They go from 2 to 1.4. All right, I talk about that a lot. Same with blocks. And Daniels will probably drop next season. It's almost an assured thing. Because the reason I say that with Dyson, like you say, well, why not? He's young, he can continue to get better. I'm sure, maybe. But also, Dyson didn't get steals like this last season. So if you've got the ability and the variance to improve that much, there's very little evidence throughout NBA history to suggest that players just keep that level. Again, he could easily lead the league in steals again next season. But instead of being at, what's he averaging now? Is he at 3 exactly? He's 3 on the nose right now. He could be at 2.4. And over the last, two months, last 2 weeks, he's been at 2.6. Again, not a big deal. That's still very good. But remember that when you're factoring in a lot of the other stuff with Dyson. Now, I say all of this to say people will be like, oh, you're going to be so off on him next season, and because of that steal issue, and I definitely wouldn't take him round 1 or round 2, no chance. But the fact that he's doing these other things, the shooting it's a work in progress, obviously, but over the last 2 months, 59%. Okay, that's interesting. 59% true shooting, my bad. Flashing assists like this one, 9 assists. Okay. Now, there are players that still have to come back and still got other things that need to happen with this squad. But I think Dyson has done enough with the steals, even if they do decrease. And I am 100% going to be projecting them nowhere near 3. It'll be like 2.4 or 2.3 or 2.6 or something, which is still awesome. He's doing enough in other areas to keep some of that value floated. And then we got the night watchman, Mohamed Ayuge. He started and played 23 minutes. And usually you get a cornucopia of defensive stats. Unfortunately, we just got 1 steal. He had 5 points with 12 rebounds. He's a defensive stream guy for deeper formats. And then we got shown again why you can never trust Karis LeVert. 4 points, 14%. He had 5 assists, but it's just not trustworthy. And then they can chuck out Terrence Mann and Vic Krejci and George Niang. I think that we might get a game where Trae or Dyson sits coming up, maybe Friday, I don't know. So just watch for someone like Keaton Wallace Or what about the big fella, Daquan Plowden? Remember earlier in the season they had everyone out and Plowden had like 30 points and 8 threes or something? That, you can fact check me on that. It wasn't those numbers, I'm sure, but it was really, really good. So just keep an eye on Mr. Daquan Plowden. And that's his name. That name again is Daquan Plowden. Just keep an eye on him to see if there is any shenaniganizing going on with the Atlanta Hawks. Speaking of shenaniganizing, let's talk Brooklyn. I am here to tell you right now that Cam Johnson, D'Angelo Russell, and Day'Ron Sharpe are just not playing again this season. They've already been ruled out for Friday. There would be absolutely no reason for them to play on Sunday. That is done. It is cooked. They're finished. The thing that I don't know is Nick Claxton. Claxton's playing, sort of. He sat a game the other day. He played 19 minutes here. It's a back-to-back tomorrow. I don't believe he plays tomorrow, but I don't know. He had 7 points in 19 minutes. You can just go ahead and drop him. You can go ahead and drop Zaire Williams if you decide to hold on to him. He had 9 points in 15. In fact, their rotations are so all over the shop that I don't know what to tell you. Because Derek Whitehead, the pimple, played 26 minutes the last game. He played 9 here. Maxwell Lewis had been playing 25 minutes. He played 9 in this one. Jalen Wilson had been a DNP the 2 games ago. And in this one, he started the second half. Jalen Wilson, and then went off for 20 points with 6 threes, which is a great game. The only guys I feel a level of confidence in their role, and one of them was the Vulture Reese Beekman, and I don't now because he played 13 minutes, it's somehow Drew Timme. Timme played 29 minutes. He had 13-11 with 3 threes and 6 assists, which is a bloody good game. Usually he's good at field goal percentage. He wasn't here. But I do think that if my expectation is Claxton's either heavily limited or he sits, you're going to get a lot of Timme and a lot of Watford. But you've got Tyson Etienne playing 13 minutes, 16 points with 4 threes. Tyrese Martin with 5 points, 5 assists in 25 minutes. It's just a complete all-over-the-shop scenario. Even the guys that we sort of went to as options when players went down are now also being rested, like Keon Johnson and Zaire Williams. So I wouldn't bother with Johnson, and Beekman's a tough one. I do think his minutes go up tomorrow, but I wouldn't bother with Etienne. The guys I'd look at are Timme. I'd look at Evbomwan, who had 18 and 6 with 3 threes, a steal and a block, which is great. And I think he might play decent minutes tomorrow. But honestly, anything's on the table in a good or bad way from Brooklyn that it is very, very difficult to be able to rely upon their production. We've got 2 more games we're going to talk about. We'll get into them. It's the Pelicans and the Bucks, and the one that actually matters, the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by the Game Time app. Getting to a live game, maybe you get to see a bit of Tyrese Martin action. Well, the energy is infectious, so you might be getting some last-minute tickets to the NBA regular season or even the playoff games, or maybe getting to see something across Major League Baseball. Well, you can get those tickets, and now it's not a challenge because Game Time exists. Game Time makes scoring last-minute tickets easier than ever. Prices now actually drop as the event gets closer. And with their all-in pricing, you can see the total cost up front. No surprises at checkout at all. With those last-minute deals, you can save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, and theatre. Maybe you just really want to get to a game and see, hey, I hope my favourite pitcher, Wandy Peralta, gets in and throws an inning or two, twirls one out. Maybe that's what you want to do. Maybe you're here for some Martin Maldonado batting masterclasses. I know I am. I can't wait to get to Petco to see my GOAT at the plate. And you can do all of that with Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Just saw an interesting tweet from Chris Fedor, who covers the Cavs and has a lot of really interesting inside news on the Cavs. And he said, talking about Ty Jerome, he says, Thursday was probably Ty Jerome's final regular season game. A chance to rest up for the playoffs. He left quite an impression on 6 Man of the Year voters. All right, that's interesting. So I would expect that means that, are they just going full Jalen Tyson on Sunday? Do the other guys come back and play Friday and then everyone's out Sunday? That certainly is what it feels like. And no mention in that tweet about the other players, but I expect if Ty Jerome is wrapping it up with 2 games to go, then the other guys might be in strife. Maybe we get a little bit of those players on Friday, but I would say on Sunday that nobody's playing for Cleveland. I did say I was going to give you an update on the guys who are out for Friday and what we know about that. The Magic are going to sit, or they listed all of their starters as questionable. To me, that means they're all going to be out on Friday, so keep an eye on that. The Celtics are just listing Jaylen Brown as out. Miles Bridges is out for the Hornets. Mark Williams is off the injury report, so it looks like he's available. Again, for Cleveland, it seems Jerome is out. I would say that means Wade is out. Hunter is out, and the starters all return. I think Brunson and Towns are going to be out for the Knicks. You can maybe you want to track me on this, see how many of these I actually get right. I don't know. We'll find out. In Chicago, I think most of those guys are playing. In Washington, we know that Jordan Poole is out. We know Middleton's out. We know most of those guys are out. In Miami, it's most of the same players there. What we don't know is what happens with New Orleans, who had no Alvarado, Bruce Brown, Yves Missi, or Kelly Olynyk today. I think those guys might all sit. And then the Mavs listed Spencer Dinwiddie and Klay Thompson as questionable for Friday. Huge chance that those guys don't play, especially with Brandon Williams being signed and being available. I also think that the Raptors are all out for their game. Barrett, Pirtle, and Quickly are all out. Actually, that's not true because Barnes is available. I think he'll be limited. What I meant to say was Barrett, Pirtle, and Quickly I think are done for the season. I also think the same in Portland where we've got Simons and Grant. They're cooked. There's no way they're playing. What we do have, though, is a doubtful tag on Denny Avdia in Portland. I'm just going to go through all these. Jamal Murray is doubtful again. I don't think he plays any of these games. What we also have, I've done the Brooklyn ones already, in Oklahoma City, this is interesting, is that Caruso, Dort, Shea, Hartenstein, Holmgren, Wallace, Bronco Williams are all out on Friday. Whether they play or not on Sunday, I don't know. But you are going to be getting Alex Dukas. You're going to be getting Adam Flagler. You're going to be getting Brandon Carlson, Dylan Jones. If Usman Jeng was healthy, you'd get him. AJ Mitchell is back after being out for 4 months. So he's an option there if he plays minutes. But nearly everybody is out there. Walker Kessler is out again for the Jazz as expected, but Collier is questionable. I think Collier will probably be out of that one too. We've got Nicola Batum, who said he was fine after the last game, so he is out of this one. And then we also got Norman Powell and Ivica Zubac as questionable. And the Clippers are still fighting for seeding, so that's interesting. Keegan Murray, questionable for the Kings. Denny Avdia, like I said, is doubtful. And then also Shaden Sharp popped up as questionable. And I'm very certain Shaden's going to miss as well. I think that Denny and Shaden and Simons and Scoot and Grant are all done now. So get ready for your Justin Maneas and for your Chris Murray moments. And Delano Banton, of course. And then for San Antonio, Keldon Johnson is out. Devin Vassell is out. So the Malacca, Malachi Branham. Look for Harrison Ingram in deeper leagues. Look for Blake Wesley. And then in Houston, we had the return of Dylan Brooks, Amen Thompson, but Fred VanVleet is questionable, Jabari Smith is questionable, and the delicate dancer Alperen Şengün is questionable. And those guys all missed the last game too. So again, a lot of stuff that can change and may change and might not change. And this is going to be a very fluid and flexible arrangement all the way through all of this stuff. So I hope, again, that gives you some clarity of where we sit. But honestly, probably doesn't. There's just so many things that can change all the way through here. Let's talk Pelicans. Let's talk Bucks. The Bucks get the win, 111-136. Both of these teams achieving their goal. The Pelicans of losing and the Bucks of winning. On the Pelicans side, there was no Missi, Alvarado, Olynyk, or Brown, and I think that'll be the case probably rest of the season. So there are going to be names you can look at. Jamal Cain, 20-7 in 27 minutes. Do I feel good about that? No. I would much rather go with my man, Carlo Makovic. 15-10, 3 threes, and a steal. And usually he can get you a block or so. We also got a good game from Jeremiah Robinson-Earl, who I'm also less interested in. 15-10 for him. Reeves was there. Now his shot is not good, and he's a rookie. He's going to have bad shots, but the volume is good enough. 16 points, 2 threes, 3 assists, and 3 steals means you probably do want Reeves on a 12-team roster. Keon Brooks, like fine-ish, 20-6 with 4 threes. And then the big fella, who's actually small, Lester Quinones, had 21, 5, and 6, and that's a nice deep league stream. Alfred Payton's got 1 game left on his contract. He had 2 points, but 15 assists and a steal. And that is now, I believe, 35 assists in the last 3 games from Alfred Payton. So you'll get at least Friday out of him, and I just don't think those guys are coming back. They took this game so seriously, they played Kylor Kelly 23 minutes. Yeah, expect that rotation that we saw in this game to be basically what happens, because none of those other guys I would expect to play in the games or the last 2 games of the season. It would make no sense to do that. On to the Milwaukee side of the game. They were without, as per usual, Damian Lillard and Jericho Sims, but they are still fighting to keep themselves in that position to hold off Detroit. And then coming off the bench again was Kevin Porter Jr., and he shot the ball well again from the field and the line. Now, you'd be a little worried of 23 minutes, but who cares when you have 20 and 5, 7 assists and 5 steals, and somehow Kevin Porter now has 10 steals in the last 2 games. That means he could go the next 10 months without getting a steal, and it would actually make sense. yeah, look, he's fine to roster, but there's a lot here that's just not real. They also pulled a lot of guys off early. Brook Lopez just 23 minutes. Yanni just 26 minutes. We had Gary Trent getting out early in 24 minutes, and Kuzma had 17 points also. Rollins started, but didn't do much. If you wanted to drop him, go for it. But also, I could easily see a game where Rollins is better than Porter in the next one. That's not a hard thing to see in this one. AJ Green didn't do anything. Taurean Prince didn't do anything. But what you are getting a shot at, and again, you're always going to get the random person at the end of the season who pops off. Who is it going to be? Chris Livingston? Jamari Bouye? Stanley Amude? They've got a bunch of spuds on this team who could step up. What about if my man Tyler Smith, who's been atrocious, what if he's able to get into a larger role this season? Not this season. What if he's not sick and plays maybe one game? I wouldn't feel good about any of them, especially when you're like limiting Gary Trent and getting him out of games early like this one. Like, you're not going to feel super confident about the majority of those players. But I would expect, because they still can fall to 6, and they probably don't want to do that. So I would expect that we get at least some sort of minutes from these players, Yanni, Kuzma, Portis, Lopez, Trent, and Porter, until they lock themselves in. And then when you get to Sunday, man, it's actually just anything goes. I realized I was going on about, if the Bucks lose out and the Pistons win out, then they've got the tiebreaker. I didn't realize that the Bucks and the Pistons' final 2 games are against each other. So yeah, like, those games are important. So Detroit, Milwaukee, Friday. Detroit, Milwaukee, Sunday. So if Milwaukee just beats the Pistons, it's over. Detroit needs to beat Milwaukee in both of those games. So they already do hold the tiebreaker, but they just need to beat them in both of the games. So if the game goes Milwaukee's way Friday, then Sunday becomes an absolute dead rubber, and everybody's going to be out. So I wonder what Detroit actually does, whether they do. It would be silly for me that they did play Cade or Tobias on Friday, but yeah, interesting. They're playing, what a way that's set up. Not that it matters who's the 5, who's the 6, but it's at least something that can change, and then they're playing each other, so their fates are either easily in their own hands. Now we can do the final game of the night. The Minnesota Timberwolves on the road go into Memphis and win 141-125, which is obviously massive in terms of how the playoffs shape out there. That puts the Timberwolves at 47 wins, which is now equal with the Grizzlies and equal with the Warriors, 1 game behind the Nuggets. And Memphis now is in a struggle. They're going to play Denver, I think, in their next game. And the Wolves coming into this one were in the 8th slot, and getting that 47th win again puts them equal with Memphis and Golden State. And I believe if I look at tiebreakers, they don't hold the tiebreaker. They don't have the tiebreaker against Golden State and against Memphis, Minnesota. But now that they're all on 47, if they keep winning and these other guys lose, it's gonna get interesting. We know that. So at the moment, we're still in Timberwolves in 8, Warriors 7, Memphis 6 zone. Nuggets 5, Clippers 4, Lakers 3. Very, very, very interesting stuff. That is a big win for Minnesota, and it's a bad loss for Memphis, who really needed that one to keep themselves out of the play-in. Let's take a look at the box score and the production here. Anthony Edwards was fantastic. He had 44 points in 38 minutes. He had 7 threes. He shot unbelievably from the field and the line, and that is just a key. It's a huge thing for what you can get in fantasy at this point of the year, if that's what you're looking for. And also, I know he gets a lot of negative criticism. Well, that's what all criticism is, isn't it, usually? Julius Randle, 31, 10 and 5 with 5 threes. He was ridiculous. He shot the ball amazingly and somehow didn't take a single free throw. The guys who had been struggling, like Dante DiVincenzo, continued to struggle. And Jaden McDaniels, he also struggled. 10 points, 5 rebounds. DiVincenzo, 9 points, 3 threes, 4 assists. That's just not good enough. And I wouldn't bother holding those guys, even though you know that these guys are going to have to play their lineups. I think you're going to be able to find and pluck the random person from Washington or New Orleans and have that better value than trying to rely upon these guys who are doing nothing. Naz Reid is probably one that I would hold, but honestly, his production's not good either. He's outside the top 230 over his last 5 games. He had another 14 and 6 here. It does seem like he needs one guy out to be a real rock-solid 12-team guy, and that is not the way that it is going. Just keep treating Mike Conley like an assist stream. He had 9 assists here. Didn't shoot well, but that's realistically just what you're expected to get out of Michael Conley. On the Grizzlies side, with no Jalen Wells, they moved Vince Williams into the starting lineup. It didn't really matter. He just played bench minutes anyway, 5 points in 18 minutes. The guys who got the bump, we got more minutes for Santi Aldama, who, again, I don't get it. 30 minutes, 5 points, 4 shots. All right, bro. 5 assists. Is he worth holding? I don't think so. I don't think so, but I've been wrong on him 25 times before. Morant was awesome, 36 with 6 assists, and Bane had 28, 6 and 9 with 6 threes. Great games there. Zach Edey, another 30-minute game. Oh, obviously nowhere near as good as the previous outings, but 7 and 9 with a block. We're absolutely rostering him. And the guy that got the minutes over Vince Williams was Scott Pippen. So we had a lot of Pippen and Morant minutes together. 16, 3 and 4 with a steal. You just want to grab Scottie Pippen. If they're going to play him 30 minutes, obviously that's a must-roster scenario. I thought Lil John Conchar would do a little bit more. He had 3 points in his 7 minutes and very little stuff from Duck Luke Kennard, who got a DNP city, which is a very, very big difference from what Taylor Jenkins was doing. We saw Kennard go from playing 30 minutes as a starter in Morant's absence to under Thomas Yasalo get a DNP, which again did not see coming in the slightest. I wouldn't say that it's a smart move, but it's a move that he made. We should now go to the final monstrous line of the night and awards for the season, and the monstrous line does go to Anthony Edwards in Minnesota. 44 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. He was ridiculously good. Your waiver wire line of the night goes to the best player available in a big chunk of leagues, and of course it is the big sneeze, Precious Achiuwa, who had 18 and 10, 3 assists, 2 steals and 3 blocks in a fill-in game. Just watch to see who else is out for the Knicks. The young gun of the night's got to be the player, the rookie who scored the most points for any rookie in a game this season, Zachary Ricochet. 38 with 6 dribbles, 2 steals and a block. I'd expect 2 points in the next game for him. And the dud of the night, well, we've seen the minutes taper off with Bobby Portis returning. So Brook Lopez is maybe a drop. 3, 1 and 1. I would probably hold him, but it's not looking great at the moment. But what is looking great is all your beautiful faces out there. Hey, sweethearts. How you going? Give me the thumb on the video. It is National Submarine Day, but that is also the last recap show of the day. Tomorrow, I will not have a show. And that is the first time I've said that in a long time. I will have, on Sunday for me and Saturday afternoon/night for you, a preview show looking at streamers for the final day of the NBA regular season. I will see you guys there. In the meantime, thumb up the video, go to lockedondaily.com and sign up for the newsletters as well, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for everything. See ya.